Hello, and welcome to Pints and Quarts, a show presented by Craft Beer Nation. Today is July 16th, 2015, and our guest is Tim Matthews. Tim is the head brewer and brewing operations, I believe it is, at Oskar Blues. I can't wait to get him talking about canning beer, expanding into North Carolina, and then get his opinions on some of the news, the breaking news from the week. Why don't you prepare for that by pouring your beer into a glass and getting comfortable. Now is also a perfect time to click subscribe on our YouTube, Stitcher, or iTunes channels.
Time now for a look back at the last week in the craft beer industry. Pour a cold one and sit back for an all-new episode of Pints and Quarts, presented by Craft Beer Nation.
All right, we are back, and our guest this week is Tim Matthews. On the panel, we've got Randy Gardner Jr., Linda Dean, Charles Dunkley, Gil Mello. I believe Lola Laracy is coming back. Myself, Matt Miller, and Tim. Tim, tell us a little bit about you. Thanks for joining us. Tell us a little bit about you and how you got started at Oskar Blues.
Oskar Blues, yeah. Love the accent on it. No, I've been at Oskar Blues now since 2008. I actually started brewing in 2006, initially in Pittsburgh at a brew pub. It was one of the John Harvard's brew houses that still existed in the Mid-Atlantic before they shrunk back into New England. I also simultaneously completed the American Brewers Guild Craft Brewing Apprenticeship Program. I moved on to a brewery in British Columbia called Mount Begbie and loved it up there, but living in British Columbia and as a 25-year-old and skiing way too much, and all of a sudden you're in the red. So I meandered down to Colorado because I had family down there and ended up at Oskar Blues right when they opened up the Longmont facility. Within, I felt like 6 months. It was pretty empty back then, and now it's pretty full. Since 2008, I started as a shift brewer, and then started leading the brew house, and now I head up all the brewing operations, which pretty much amounts to the flavor of the beer itself, for all of Oskar Blues, from small batch to big batch, from Colorado to North Carolina. So.
Wow, all right, so you've been there since 2008, and
Yep.
You've been brewing since when was your stint in Pittsburgh and British Columbia?
I started brewing in 2006. I brewed in Pittsburgh in 2007 into 2000, and then I started in British Columbia. It was a short stint in British Columbia, early 2008, before I moved down to Colorado.
All right, so the skiing in British Columbia ran you into the red, so you went to Colorado where there's no skiing at all?
Right? No. Let's just say hella skiing and things like that, and just living in a mountain town, like a resort town, and not having any real discipline, and thinking you're living the life and trying to balance the budget on the brewer's salary. It's pretty tough. I was a learning lesson, and then I came down to Colorado because it was a little bit more tempered for me. The beer culture too down in Colorado obviously is penultimate, and it's I wanted a little bit more camaraderie. I was so far away from so many other brewers. I love the people I worked with in British Columbia. Just really needed to be immersed a little bit more, and can't say I'd ever regret that decision, because now I'm one of the most blessed people in the world. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So seven years now in Colorado. I mean, what's next? Are you staying there, or are you performing functions there for Asheville, or are you going to come to Asheville, or I mean, is it kind of one of these things where you have to work in both locations?
It's technically, I mean, I'm trying to hunt down a lot of the and also regulate a lot of the raw materials we do. I'm constantly digging into the theory and practice for all our processes, and leading that. We have a quality team at Oskar Blues also that pulls together the entire all the heads of departments from brew house operations, cellar operations, QA/QC, and I bring a lot of those ideas to that table, and then we discuss it. It's a great way for two-site operations to actually exist, because every single week we're having a conversation about multiple points, and we have projects that are constantly going on to evaluate and dig into the beer, gain even more transparency in what we're how we're making our beer. Because sometimes this goes here, and it ends up like this. That's not good enough for us. We want to have brutal control over what makes Oskar Blues beer. So my function really is just constantly digging into that.
So in Pittsburgh, it was a little malt here and boil it, and then a hop addition, and now it's like science, right? Now it's like, wait a minute, if we adjust the temperature on this by 1/2 of a degree and extend the time in boil, then, does it still feel like there's art, or is it all what the numbers say?
Well, there's always going to be a gut feeling and intuition involved. There's the feel. There's also, regardless of whatever science you're using to construct the beer, there's why you construct it is always an art, and we're always going to be looking to manipulate those controls in order to create something that is unique. Today we were sitting down with some university folks about genetic mapping of our yeast, so we can actually find out exactly what genes are triggered to make certain flavors from the yeast, so we can dig in even more and make even more eclectic flavors by having more control. That's just one example of it. So.
Yeah, and then use that CRISPR thing to make the yeast that much more genetically functional. So, science is interesting stuff. So.
Oh yeah.
I think it's awesome that you guys are still kind of seeking out ways to make things better and not just resting on your laurels. Cheers to you for that, man.
I think it's absolutely essential. I don't think anybody in craft beer should. That's tough to say, because at the same time there are a lot of personalities that do very much enjoy living in the moment and not pushing past that because they found their spot. I guess eventually you need to be satisfied, but
no, you don't have to.
It's you don't have to, but it's. I'm not going to judge somebody who has been satisfied. It's just a different personality, and I love personality. So
I imagine that the new brewery is helping a lot coming to the East Coast. Like, you have a big following here.
It's very much been the case. North Carolina used to be our number 11 market, and just by having a brewery in North Carolina, it became our number 3, 4, or 5 market. It jumped up 6 or 7 spots instantaneously by becoming local. And of course it's local because these people are employed, they're local. It's a local craft, even though it was born somewhere else, but still we're actually looking into developing more flavors from local ingredients and trying to build local brands around that from barley. And even doing this collaboration with other academics and to dig more into it. So I want people in every area to feel connected to the beer in some ways. So.
But how big of a challenge it is to do this? You have your product, you're comfortable there, and then all of a sudden you move to a different part of the country, new water, new everything. Was that like a welcoming challenge, or was like headaches at times?
Well, no, it's incredible headaches. It's you're talking to people that very much care about their beer, and the minute we toss in new variables, we definitely had to learn about that. But having 2 breweries has also helped us dig into the beer and improve upon the beer because we have these variables. The minute we actually understand the variables, we just learned something that can make our beer that much better. In the case of North Carolina, we actually had not as much challenges as we think. The water from the Pisgah is very, very similar to the water from the Rockies. It is surface water from mountain runoff, and it is very soft. The only thing was learning exactly what was going down to the water treatment plant and the chlorine levels and finding that effect on the beer. dealing with elevation in the terms of boiler performance and thermal stress. So we actually had the same kind of malt characteristics come out, and then the same flavor stability. But we learned about all of that because of having in the second brewery. So we can take that back to Colorado and then advance even more.
I had the same problem. I took my brewing equipment to my friend's house, and I had to recalibrate the boiling temperature.
Well, you have 5 bedrooms instead of 4. You have a larger backyard, more lizards.
It was like 200 feet higher above sea level.
Well,
I mean,
normally I brew like in my garage, but at his house we were on the deck, so that changed in elevation. So I feel your pain, Tim.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about this then real quick. Tim says that, and I agree with, but he pointed out that the creation is the art, and the science is in being able to make it again, and being able to make it again, and being able to make it again, and being able to make it again, so it tastes like what they created and produced what they created, with changing variables within water and yeast strain and those kind of things. So we're gonna do something a little different. I'm gonna bring the review of the week into the program here now, and we're gonna use the way back machine here, and we're gonna go back to 2009. If you can believe that.
Yeah.
Woo!
Cue the dream
I can't.
sequence.
That's like the last
Time Lord, baby.
Time Lord, yeah. Somebody make the Doctor Who sound effect. David,
back in time. What's that from? Oh, that's from the Sprockets back in Michael Myers when he did the flashbacks.
He would do that.
Wayne's World.
Back in the days when shaved.
All right.
And that's probably even 15 years before 2009.
I know.
The David Jensen wrote a blog post, and he reviewed in April of 2009 Gordon beer.
Oh man. All right.
So did you have any part in creating or the Gordon beer, or did you just brew it when you got there? Was that already out?
That beer has been around since 2003 or 2. Gordon Knight is a legend in the Boulder beer scene. He had won multiple gold medals with different breweries back in the late 90s and early 2000s. He was a Vietnam vet and a helicopter pilot, and his helicopter went down, and he passed away while fighting in a forest fire near the town of Lyon. So the Gordon beer was established in remembrance of Gordon, and we're not the only one. It's Twisted Pine also did something similar. That's why it's now called the Night, because Gordon Knight. I got there that's one of the first beers I actually brewed in 2008 when I got there too. So that's pretty cool.
All right. Well, it's very possible that David tasted a sample from your very first batch. So let's go with that. So David gets his hands on Tim's very first batch of Gordon beer, and this is his review. And I usually just read one part. We're gonna smash it down a little bit and read some from smell and some from his taste categorization. But here's what David Jensen says. The hop bouquet leaps out of the can immediately after opening. I've never opened a bottle of beer and had the same experience. Gordon beer has a wonderful hop smell that can be described as citrus, orange juice, pine resin, and floral-like fresh-cut flowers. The aroma is like sweet barley malt and caramel. The taste of Gordon beer lives up to the smell. The citrus and floral smells are delicious and clean on the tongue. It has a great malty and caramel flavor and is pleasantly more malty than I expected. The malt sweetness is accompanied by a slight nuttiness and roasty flavor, which probably comes from the chocolate malt. At 85 IBUs, there is no doubt that this beer has loads of hop bitterness, but it's not a harsh, bitter flavor. The bitterness is smooth, which is due to a good balance of malt sweetness and probably hops low in cohumulone. For instance, I felt that Gordon beer is smoother than Green Flash IPA and probably has as much, if not more, IBUs. So that's what David has to say about this, and there are a flurry of questions in here.
Yeah. All right.
I guess I'll start here. Chocolate malt in this beer?
No.
Has there ever been chocolate malt in this beer?
Well, 0.02%. in the bill. It was a color adjuster for a while, mainly because the crystal malt that we used fluctuated in color. But we actually we changed our crystal malt maltster to Simpson's malt about a year and a half ago, because we felt that they maintained color and crystallization a lot more consistently. Now, the nuttiness and the caramel, he's right on with the with the flavor, but the chocolate malt's not a flavor.
Yeah.
So you're calling it
sorry,
crazy?
David, you're wrong.
He must be on something.
So let's talk about those 85 IBUs that apparently have dropped down to 60. I mean, I have just tried Goodnight for the first time tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you, I'm in love with this beer. It's thick and it's softly sweet. There's no sickly sweetness to it. I get a soft hop smell, but there isn't a whole lot of hop bitterness. I definitely would not say this is like an 85 IBU beer. So somewhere along the way, the cohumulones changed.
Yeah.
What happened?
Since I have brewed this beer since 2008, we have not changed the hop bill, except for blending in Galaxy hops along with Amarillo in the dry hop. So it's I don't know. Thing is, a lot of the IBU specs that we had in our marketing back in 2009 were also from the brewpub days, and it's really intriguing because I'm like, I don't ever remember brewing with that much hops. Where did these IBUs come from? I think we actually started regularly testing for IBUs, which I'm actually fully against. Mainly because I think it distracts people from the complexity that the hops bring to the table in terms of mouthfeel and aroma and the like. Nevertheless, actually the hops that we do use are a little bit higher in the cohumulone. Columbus hops are used in the kettle, but it's good that people are looking into that, because profile of bitterness is actually more important than just the number. IBUs include solubilized alpha polyphenols, beta acids that have been oxidized beta acids too. Sorry to ramble on it, but it's
No, that's the scientific part I'm digging for.
Yeah. So where are you going? Honestly, it's just testing, and learning more about the how our hops are actually affecting the beer, rather than just the theoretical. So.
I mean, usually when I think of an imperial hop profile, I'm thinking, I'm gonna walk in, I'm gonna slap you across the face, and then you're gonna get the flavor. That doesn't happen with this beer, not at all.
No.
I walk in and it's just here's a lovely path of flavor all the way to your chili.
Yep. No, it's I love Goodnight beer because it brings so much to the table at the involving malt, hops, and yeast at the same time. This beer benefited greatly from using Simpson's crystallized malts, because Simpson's crystal has an amazing amount of crystallization. It's also thorough, so they develop such a great array of these crystallized sugars. So you get honey mixed with caramel, mixed with like burnt sugar, mixed with even like the candy on a candy apple, and even a little bit of biscuit too. It has those nutty, malty melanoidins and stricker aldehydes, and the beer is actually fermented relatively slow to other ales its size, and retains a lot of that character. So it's almost as if it's not hops or malt, it's a hops malt marriage that presents a really unique flavor by way of a synergy effect. So that's why it's so unique.
Excellent. Thanks for the explanation.
Yeah.
We're going to start calling him Professor Matthews for the rest of the program.
Feel free to geek out with us, man.
That's all right. Yeah.
We love stuff.
We're here for a while, so my marketing team was like, I think they actually give you the right amount of time to talk, you know.
But you know, I'm drinking your Scotch ale, Old Chub, tonight.
Oh, I love that
But
one.
but my question is not about Old Chub. My question is when, if, Death by Coconut's coming back.
Yep. Well, it's the big challenge right now is finding the way to consistently produce it. So right now, what we've moved to is using our lines facility to maintain draft production, and then we're doing these like once a month can releases out of 19.2 ounce cans in our tasting room. If we could, we really hope to actually bolster up production slowly but surely, but we need to find more efficient ways of making the beer because. We do need to maintain production of other beers, including Dale's Pale Ale, Pilsner, Old Chub, Pinner, and even Goodnight. So, yeah.
All right, I have an idea. This is from me. For those of us like us who really want these beers, maybe we're not so concerned that it be the same from beer to beer because we like things that are a little more individualized.
Yep.
Maybe you could do like Coca-Cola and do like share, beer with Linda. And it could be your own individual, and it doesn't matter if it tastes like any of the others. It's yours.
Yeah, I for some beers, I think how a beer comes out every single batch is it is very tough to actually even have that consistently happen.
And see, we don't mind. We just love it.
Yeah, as long as it's well made. Yeah,
as long as it's well made.
Yeah.
And you can even put Craft Beer Nation.
And then at the bottom,
as tasted by Craft Beer Nation.
The reason I asked for about Death by Coconut is that I've tried every coconut beer that I can get my hands on it, and it seems that it's not an easy thing to get that coconut taste into the beer. A lot of beer just don't deliver what they.
Really? Yeah, I think it's actually the chocolate that, and in fact, the Death by Coconut won a silver medal at GABF for the chocolate beer category.
Wow.
Interestingly enough, and that's actually the tougher thing. It takes a long time to extract. We use these little bittersweet chocolate discs, and it takes about 12 days to extract off of those discs fully to get that sweetness into that chocolate sweetness into the beer. The coconut nut takes about 2 days, but it's the type of coconut I think that needs to be considered. And we just use completely desiccated, shredded to almost a fine powder coconut that I think imparts the clean coconut flavor. Because I will admit, we did trial extract, but the solvency of extract by way of the alcohol used to make that extract just messed with the flavor, and also messed with the chocolate flavor too. So.
Tim, I'm going to digress real quick and then get back to our regularly scheduled beer geekdom because I think Matt has a question for you. But how do you guys decide what goes on the bottom of the can?
Oh, we have a very creative team. I think the guys in the packaging lines have this dry erase board, and what goes on the canning line is absolutely an incredible banter, and you can tell when morale is really high, it gets even more nonsensical, and and they just go ahead and choose it. People actually come through on tours sometimes and say, put this on the bottom of the can. The guy's like, okay. Yeah.
Tell them to put Craft Beer Nation on the bottom of a can.
Yes.
I swear I will lose it.
On the bottom of the can.
CBN_.
Right.
I will buy
productions.
I'll buy case on case on case.
Yeah.
Well, heck,
just don't put it on. Don't put it on something expensive. Don't put it on 1050. To sell the house.
It sounds like we could just find this guy's Twitter and put a bug in his head. I mean, if he's stoned, he may think he thought of it himself.
Yeah, Twitter. Yeah, that's right.
Wait, is that a Colorado joke or something like that? I don't know.
Hey, what we wanted to talk about is something you guys really pioneered, which is there are so many things that Oskar Blues has really kind of been in the forefront, and you guys are known for really bringing canned beer back, at least known to me for that, because everybody's doing it now, but you guys did it first kind of thing, and said this is what we want to do. And we know that from talking with other folks that you have to make beer differently to put it in a can than you do in a bottling line. So there's it seems like that we've talked to brewers that are putting their beer in bottles, and they say, well, the beer tastes differently out of a can, and it would change our flavor profile, so we stay with the bottles kind of thing. But you guys took canning to the tap room as well too, and I don't know, probably in my market at least, there's a half dozen Crowler machines in tap rooms, in small microbreweries, nano breweries, and that stuff all started with you. Tell us a little bit about that, and take some credit, I guess. Take a bow.
Well, I'll tell you what, we have a wizard that works at Oskar Blues called Jeremy Rudolph. The things that go through his head are the epicenter of a lot of the creativity at Oskar Blues, and he directs a lot. His primary function is to direct the production and be the bridge between sales and production. And he's always been one looking at innovation, and especially in a focus for packaging. And the Crowler, I don't know the exact story. I feel like the Crowler was originally designed for canned canned food goods, and he actually repurposed it along with Ball to seam these 32-ounce cans, and it just took off, mainly because of his efforts and ingenuity. And I'll tell you what, I love it because it keeps the beer in a much better state than putting them into a screw-top growler. We get to purge the cans, we get to fob the cans and seam them, and it's an absolute seam. So we've actually done tests on some Crowler cans when they're well made and they have the proper headspace. These things will last well over a month and not have much sign of oxidation at all. So
you help people like me who have a little brewery just a few blocks from my house, a 15-barrel brewery that makes this amazing beer that I always talk to my friends, other places. And now I can just walk in and say, give me a Crowler, a half a dozen of a Crowler of that. And they can have that beer now and then experiment all that stuff that I talk about it. So that is a thing that just amazes me, and I think it's a game changer. It makes people like us here very happy about it.
And to Gil's point, the same thing with me. Like when I typically don't like buying 64-ounce growlers of beer because once you open it, that's a lot of beer to drink.
Yep.
And I live in Northern Virginia, and I can now go to DC Brow, for example, and ask them. And matter of fact, you guys did a collaboration beer with them called Freedom. Smells like Freedom. Yep. And I was able to go get a Crowler of that beer, and I mean, it's the perfect amount if you want to sit down and have a couple, right? Have a few, and it's awesome.
Yep. No, it's even helped us to engage the public on some of the specialty small batch stuff we're messing around with in lines constantly. And it's also a way for us to, our Burning Can Festival was in Lyons, Colorado back at the end of May. The one here in Brevard occurs on Saturday. We were actually able to bring small breweries into this festival because the criteria was cans, just by taking the Crowler machine to all of these breweries and canning up the beer for them, and then they can pour it out of Crowlers at the event. It's a way for people to experience beer, like you guys said, that you don't normally experience, but also have a great way of even transporting the beers you already know in a quality way.
I also love the fact that I can say to my wife, I'm just going to have one beer with dinner. Drop that bad boy down on the table.
That's a tricky compromise, yeah.
That's a loophole.
Yeah.
Tim, the actual name Crowler is proprietary, right?
I'm not sure about that, but I wouldn't put it. I don't see why it wouldn't be.
Okay.
Yeah. I think so. They have a logo. I know people that sell the Crowler, if they write any text on it, it has to use that font and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the Oskar Blues font. Yeah.
If I were a brewery, I'd just call it Big Can.
Well,
Let me get the big can.
The big can. We're running out of our time, but this is so engaging, and we want to try and keep setting things up for Tim to geek out on here. But there was one main headline from the last half hour that we wanted to get into the show tonight, and that is, and hopefully Tim got some confirmation from his text from his cell phone while we started. But just as we went on the air, Charles broke a story. Charles, break it down for us.
Sure. As reported on thefullpint.com, it appears that Duvel has acquired Firestone Walker.
Wow.
Dun dun dun.
That's all gas.
There's not a lot of information out. There's a small press release that Firestone and Duvel released. It appears it's going to be a similar arrangement that Duvel has with Brewery Omegang and with Boulevard as well, where they're just going to continue to brew their beer, run their operations, but now they have the machine of Duvel and all the resources Duvel has behind them, that is finances, equipment, whatever, to really help Firestone Walker take that next step now.
Yeah,
So,
but did anybody think Firestone was hurting? I mean, they seem to be.
Well, needed to be hurting. I don't think you need to be hurting to want that relationship.
That's true.
Yeah, this makes it easier for them to continue to grow. Like one of the things Duvel did for Omegang, I believe, is give Omegang the bottling line Omegang now has. And that bottling line, they're not even producing anywhere near enough bottle to run that line at capacity. So just from that alone, that investment really sets them up for a long time.
Well, could they be sharing their distribution system?
Oh, sure.
That's always possible.
All that. I think it's just not any company. It's different for a company. I mean, we talked to them not long ago, and a company like Duvel is not your normal investor. It's like not taking a fund money or sell to one of the big breweries. This is like a company who has tradition and has proved that they can work with craft breweries and let them do what they do best.
I mean, they are essentially craft themselves, right?
Right.
I would say so. Yeah. And it's a beer that takes 90 days to make. I mean, they make it very evident in their tour up at the brewery. I mean, I don't think there's in terms of beer that's available out in the world, Duvel is has some of the best conditioning and developed flavor. Their triple hop is a hop flavor that I'm actually jealous about. But you're right. They simply just go out there.
When you were around since 1871, you have done something right.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And Matt, to your question, I mean, I don't think it's so much that Firestone Walker was hurting, but how many times has one of their anniversary beers come out and you haven't gotten any?
Well, true. Yeah, and it's not like Boulevard was hurting or Omegang was hurting either.
Right.
So, these are business decisions. So I will say that I think all of us on the panel had the same reaction because Charles said Firestone Walker has been sold to Duvel. It was like, okay.
We can deal with that.
I imagine the internet tomorrow will have a collective inhale and exhale in the same fashion.
And I'll say this: Boulevard and Omegang have done a couple collaboration beers. So Firestone Walker in the mix. This is gonna really get fun and interesting for us craft beer lovers, right? So awesome.
Yeah, we had David Walker on 2-3 months ago. It'd be fun to get him get some words from him on the matter too. Of course, maybe he's already off and bought his. I don't know if he's going to stay on. All these details have to come out. But
I found something, Matt. I think actually in the article that Charles spoke about, Matt, it says that the Firestone Walker, they're still going to operate under their current structure with Dave and with
Adam.
Yeah, Dave and Adam. So it's still going to be the same old. It seems like a financial move to help them with production and stuff like that. So
like the founders move as well too was about financial and production. So all right. Well, do we want to talk about any of the other news stories, or do we want to? Yeah, let's talk.
Well, we can talk about just maybe quick, just let people know about Left Hand, because I think that's a pretty big move, as the same as being sold. But Left Hand became employee owned, and that's a big.
Linda, take us through the details on that.
That is correct. Left Hand has actually entrusted over half its company to their employee ownership. Specifically, it's 54% employee owned now. The co-founder Eric Wallace says money is a tool, not the end product. So the point of the ESOP is to give everyone a stake in the game and create a long-term investment in the company. And, in the midst of a rush of corporate craft beer buyouts that I've seen lately, companies that are choosing to go employee-owned are really growing. Companies like Deschutes, Harpoon, New Belgium, these are just a few who go into varying levels of employee ownership. But I'm not sure how this is going to affect the distribution in the new markets. It's kind of up in the air. But because I see Left Hand is still expanding their production, by the end of 2015, they could be producing up to 90,000 barrels of beer. Slow and steady expansion could be a huge win for them in the end, even if they don't go to 100% employee ownership, which they say is not necessary.
Well, and also Full Sail, they were employee owned, and they actually sold to an investment company not too long ago. But I do like the fact that more than half of the company has become an ESOP, which means that if they even get approached by, say, AB, InBev or anybody, oftentimes with these setups, the majority owner gets to make the decision, and so now that's in the hands of the employees and the people who have a vested interest in the company, and I kind of like that.
That's an excellent point. So do I.
And it's good to know that the people make your beer taken care of.
Yeah.
We feel good about that.
Yeah, and it's worked so well for New Belgium. Well, we've talked to some folks from there, and we've got a couple of New Belgium fanboys in our group, and they really do. It really does invest the employees in the product, in the process, in the whole thing. So.
And it really does. It has other benefits too. I mean, working with Winco, which is 100% employee owned, our medical expenses for co-pays went down to almost nothing. We paid maybe $5 a month into the program, and our co-pay was $15 for anything that we had to go in for.
Yeah. Wow.
People have to understand there's over 3,000 breweries, craft breweries around, and associated, like founders and other that may not be considered craft brewery anymore, but so many brewers on the shelves right now to choose from that if you're not good, you're not going to be around. So there is no interest of the breweries not to put good product out.
True, and if you have employee interest in there, that totally works.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about some of the new releases on the schedule here. I see some names that are familiar. First is Crooked Stave out there in Denver. It's got Key Lime Tau. It is a spin on limoncello. That came out on the 15th yesterday.
What's up with the 2-pie?
It's a 2-pie. Yeah, that's the Key Lime Tau 2-pie.
Key lime pie, 2-pie. Key lime. I'm not even gonna try it. I've had an old chub, a whole 16-ounce old chub here, so we're gonna lay off of that. Firestone Walker, we were just talking about him. Eldorado barrel-aged blonde barley wine.
I want to try that.
A lot of words there that sound delicious. I wonder how they come out together. That comes out on the 18th this weekend. Green Man in Asheville, North Carolina, has got a re-release of their Rainmaker Double IPA coming out next weekend, the 24th. New Belgium, also from Colorado. This whole list is Colorado and North Carolina, so I guess Firestone Walker was New Belgium's got Long Table Farmhouse Ale on the shelves right now. Wicked Weed has got Britaberry Farmhouse tomorrow, and Succession Barrel Aged Golden Sour Ale came out last week. Succession Barrel Aged Golden Sour Ale. That sounds pretty good too. So Britaberry. I guess Wicked Weed, they make sour beers. Is that what I?
Sour beers. Those guys are good all around. So.
If you never had a Wicked Weed, go look and trade because
sour, hoppy, everything.
Yeah. They run the gamut of awesomeness. Avery, also in Boulder, has got Il Dolia Barrel Aged Sour Ale. It's boy, Gil put this one in there again. It came out yesterday, but it's a blend from different barrels, different wine barrels. So that is their barrel aged sour ale. And oh my God, no, Gil.
Yes.
No.
They're having a barbecue release party. You're gonna have to read that.
Well, okay, now releasing.
They're saying defying all odds.
On Saturday, Weyerbacher from Easton, Pennsylvania, will release this year's Imperial Pumpkin Ale.
July
17th.
Oh my goodness.
I'm going to give them the fact that that's one of the best pumpkin ales out there. Is Weyerbacher's Imperial Pumpkin Ale.
Absolutely.
But it's a little early.
Okay, but still, guys, you're like the people who remind me that back to school is coming, and I have to go spend money on clothes.
But you live in Washington. It's like July is winter for you already. We're still enjoying summer.
What?
That's right.
It's like 90 degrees outside.
I haven't even bought an Oktoberfest yet. An Imperial Pumpkin Ales are on the shelf. So I will say though that the growth in the pumpkin ale market the last couple of years really means that I don't have to rush out and buy this because there's going to be some pumpkin ales on the shelf when I'm ready to drink them.
I'll say that is the only style that sells more than IPAs for a whole month. Yeah. There's no other style that can beat IPA.
Okay, and let's think about this because the agricultural community has reported a fat decrease in pumpkin production this year. So think about where the pumpkin flavor is coming from.
Well, none of these are have pumpkin in them.
No, that's wrong.
Hell, I don't think pumpkins have even been planted yet.
No, they don't get planted until the end of July. Yeah.
So they're getting either frozen pumpkin or some kind of substitute. Like
they could have variation from last year. It could be a year old. Yeah. You know.
That's true.
I don't think any of these have. A lot of these don't have vegetable in them. So it's all the spices that are associated with the pumpkin pies. But we really should let Charles and Gil talk to that because those guys drank 31 beers.
31 days, 52 pumpkins. 52 pumpkins last year. Not doing this year.
No. They're going to do one every month. Yeah, right.
That was enough pumpkin for a while.
Are you guys do you have a pumpkin beer in the works that we're scaring you out of talking about?
No, we do have one. I'm focused more on the Oktoberfest. We need to get that brewed within the next week and a half in order to lager it properly. But we'll get our pumpkin beers ripping around early September.
What's your pumpkin beer?
I don't know. I'll probably change it this year. Okay. Yeah, I'm very fickle when it comes to pumpkin beers, but I definitely want to make something a little bit lighter, and just adjust the spices around. But it's been we've done some big ones last year called Monster Face that came out heavily pumpkin and spice, and people loved it. So we'll do something along those lines. But also, I'd love to make like a pumpkin bitter. I think pumpkin's not a massive flavor. In fact, I think butternut squash has more flavor than pumpkin. So why?
Totally agree.
Well, let me tell you something that has more flavor than butternut squash and pumpkin. Sweet potatoes.
Yep.
Yeah,
well,
beer, huh?
Well, you know about the beer that the Asheville Brewers Alliance, which was led by Luke at Wicked Weed and John on Green Man. Like the beer came up across America. The beer that they did with Sierra Nevada was a whole bunch of local sweet potatoes from this area, and that came out fantastic. I think that they actually had that flavor going on with having that other malts going on too. So.
Well, speaking of Green Man and Wicked Weed, I mean, and you guys are in the same area essentially. Mm-hmm. When can we expect a national collaboration between y'all? And maybe even New Belgium, throw them in the mix too.
I got an Asheville collaboration. We should definitely get it going.
Yeah.
Well, New Belgium starts brewing in October, November. So we'll give them a little settled-in time, and then talk around. I actually haven't seen Luke from Wicked Weed or John from Green Man in a while.
Highlanders in the area.
Yep. I mean, I think Asheville will definitely want to announce its presence with authority once everybody is ready to join the party and is gearing it up. So maybe this time next year we're actually collaborating.
Feel free to name drop Craft Beer Nation. It won't get you anything. It won't get you anything, but it'll make us feel good.
What about honor and glory, man?
Kim Jordan loves us.
Hey, Tim, let me let me just throw this in your ear here for a possibility for a winter beer. Cinnamon IPA.
Linda wants a cinnamon IPA.
What? Raise the roof.
We're gonna have like 10 different breweries doing this.
Well, I think a spice or herb IPA would be great. I'm just trying to nail down this new IPA recipe that we're going to release here pretty soon. So I'll focus on that first, and then we'll move on to the spice and herb versions.
I just think Pinner was a successful thing you did. That was really good.
Well, which one?
Pinner.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the session IPA. Yeah.
That beer took actually made me a little bit of gray, but it's very, very tough to source hops for a beer like the month before harvest, especially unique hops. And in the new IPA we're going to release next month, that was even more difficult. But I have some friends in Australia, so that's the main thing. But I really appreciate the Pinner because it definitely challenged people, just because it changed the game and the mouthfeel and the like. A lot of us are so used to being able to drink 7%, 8% beer that when we released a beer that actually was more traditional and terminal gravity and IBUs and focused on how smooth it needs to be but still challenging. I think that it took a couple months to get people's minds able to grasp that. But it's now our number 2 brand, and it's eventually going to be right up there with Dale's Pale Ale. So.
All right, so he's going to work on the pumpkin lager or the pumpkin bitter, right? And then something lighter bodied, and then it sounds like you've really kind of got your days pretty well full.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of sitting around going, "What am I going to do today?"
Well, no, there's always something I'm waiting for and the like. So, but
yeah.
Yep.
I've been to the brewery in Colorado, and so it's worth a visit. Yeah.
This is why you got back in the black. You don't have time to ski.
No, I actually
don't have
time to ski. Now I have a 2-year-old running around now too, so it's
forget it, dude.
The wife and I
sell
are
sell the skis on eBay or Craigslist and move on. Yeah.
I hope not to go that far, but we'll get back there. We definitely want the boy to be on the slopes another time. So.
Yeah, dusting the old man down the trails.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. We're going to try and burn through the festival list, and that is Ohio Brew Week Festival in Athens, Ohio, is the 10th through the 18th. So it looks like you got just 1 or 2 more days left of that. Burning Can, North Carolina. We were talking about that. That is Oskar Blues and some other folks, right? And that is tomorrow and Saturday.
I think the festivities start tomorrow, but the exact festival is 55 breweries that we have, all cans, including 7 local breweries that we crowlered up. That's all day Saturday.
Yeah. Is there like a lot of frat boys that are going to go there and like crush the things on the,
a lot of head injuries. Actually smooth, thin out the frat boy population, so we'll give it a shot.
Yeah, you can have just a little Swiss knife, right, to punch a hole in that thing. You need to have like a rumble hunting knife to get a punch on the crowler.
Oh, yeah, to be able to shotgun it, yeah. Our next festival is we're going to come to my great state of Virginia. Richmond has the National Beer Expo this weekend. Festivities there started today, run through Saturday. The Vermont Brewers Festival up in Burlington, Vermont. I don't know. Do they have any good beer in the Northeast in the Vermont area? I've got a feeling it's going to be delicious IPAs at the Vermont Brewers Festival.
They suck it up.
And Corvallis Craft Beer Picnic is next weekend. I said to Linda that it was this weekend, and then I realized what the date actually is. But we'll get to talk about this one more time next week. So next weekend, tell us about that, Linda, and what are you doing there?
Cornelius Orchard and Farm, and actually this is interesting because minors are allowed to this one. That's actually, we have lots of local food and lots of local beer, and you'll be able to talk to the local brewers. It's really great family fun.
Really great family fun at a beer festival. I mean, you heard it. You heard it here.
For the whole family, even the toddlers.
It's a lot of family fun early on, and then it can kind of go a little sideways later on, perhaps, maybe.
Then it gets weird.
Yeah, it gets weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lawn games, lawn darts? Yeah, we totally encourage that.
Twister.
Twister, that's a family game. Yeah, that's a family game. No, so look forward to that. Look around the festivals. Tim, what's the next appearance you're making at a festival? I mean, how often do they rope you into those things?
Oh, I don't know. It's harvest time, so I'm going to be in barley fields and hop fields hunting down. We're always looking at new hop varieties and also trying to develop barley flavor from the field all the way to collaborations with other maltsters. I really don't get sedentary. I'm even missing GABF this year because I prefer to do the hop selection for the varieties that week. So I don't really burning can and on Saturday, and then I'm pretty festivaled out until except for the Crested Butte Beer and Chili Fest, which is a really small festival. It's just kind of a tradition.
A true brewer, he'd rather be sniffing hops.
Yeah.
Better than sniffing magic markers.
Yeah.
So.
Tim, if you're gonna miss GABFA, I think you should demand that they send you to Sabre next year.
Wait a second. I'll actually be at the Great British Beer Festival this year. I totally forgot about that.
It's not the same.
No, it's not the same. No.
No. So that one actually has Simon Martin at it. So he's broadcast from that one every couple of years. He's a friend of ours.
Yeah.
Tell them they must send you to Sabre next year.
Yeah, Sabre and AC, man. That's
all right.
That's our jam.
When is that usually? Is that in
first
June?
weekend in June?
Yep. I'm usually pretty sedentary in June.
There it is.
Yep.
Coming to Sabre next year. You heard it.
Just sit on the couch. By the
So. Yeah.
Well, thank you to Professor Tim Matthews for joining us here this week. It has been an exciting venture. Next week we actually have some folks from Dewclaw are going to be on the show. Oh, he's there. He's at what's the Oskar Blues IPA? Is that the new one, Tim?
Oh, look at that.
Nice.
There you go.
And we get those stickers for free, right?
Yeah. Here, just throw it right in there.
There it is. So that's really what you're calling it? You're just calling it Oskar Blues IPA? You're not putting somebody's name in front of it?
I guess the marketing team wanted to just mail one in. No. It actually made a lot of sense because the word Oskar Blues, that's the name of the beer because we've done so well branding. I can't tell you how many times people say, "Oh, you brewed for Dale's Pale Ale." I'm like, "Well, I brewed Dale's Pale Ale I brewed for Oskar Blues Brewery." So it helps us get the name out there. I think we got the font right too. I just want to make sure about that.
Yeah, so any copyright infringements from Sierra Nevada? Yeah.
Sorry, that's a little bit of a jab, but yeah, it's a little bit of fun. It's
that's all right. You'll be dead after the marketing team hears you talking about them mailing one in. So.
No, I shouldn't talk because I always go to them and be like, "What do you want to call it?" I'm like, whatever. Call it Saison.
Whatever.
Let's call it beer.
Yeah.
A word for Homerson.
Let's call it drink it, So.
All right. Well, when does that thing drop? When does that thing drop, Tim? I mean, how long until that thing's?
We are brewing it right now as we speak, right behind me, and here in Brevard we have 5 batches in the tanks. We're going to release the Hounds sometime over the first 2 weeks of August. You'll see it in 12-ounce cans. It'll be core pricing. It features, we're one of the 4 breweries in the States to get the Enigma hop, and I call it the Australian Nelson, and it just has that Australian stone fruit, like cantaloupe or honeydew, that sweetness that brings to the table. It also uses Big Secret and Ella and Topaz and Galaxy. It's going to be 6.4%. It's going to be pale. It's going to be pretty similar in malt bill to like a Union Jack from Firestone Walker or Torpedo from Sierra Nevada, or even Blind Pig. I've always loved Blind Pig from Russian River.
Oh, yes.
So, but I'm hoping it has some really unique flavor. It's really come along. We actually were trialing a new hop cannon today also, so we can start layering our hop doses. Rather than just do one edition. I think our beers might get hoppier, so hope no one complains about that. So, but we will always try to push the envelope of what we can get out of the hops. But Yeah, you'll see it in August. If not August, September. So.
Well,
Yeah,
with,
but
with,
Tim,
go ahead, Matt.
No, I was going to say Tim he's got guts, man. He just compared a beer that isn't out yet to Blind Pig, Union Jack, and Torpedo. So this better not be a shelf.
That's a big promise.
Yeah.
Beer people aren't known to be meek.
Yeah, he's not meek.
And since you have a beer called
since you
have a beer called Oskar Blues IPA, tell your marketing team you guys should trademark the word consume as it relates to beer, so you can just have a whole line called Oskar Blues Consume IPA, Oskar Blues Consume Saison, Oskar Blues Consume.
Get that verb in there, man. Make him buy it. I have to pick this up. It tells me to consume it right on the packaging.
This is what I got to do, man. It is the power of suggestion. Yeah.
Jedi mind trick.
All right, we're gonna wrap this show up because we could go all night with Professor Matthews here. We really appreciate it. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your craft. We appreciate your persistence to making quality product. So thanks again. Until next week, when we have Duclaw on, I'd like everybody to find some good friends. Find some great Oskar Blues cans and mind those P's and Q's.